Available in paperback at e-readers, ISIS, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. The NYPD's chief of patrols is asking for amendments to New York's sanctuary city laws.
And now to some new information on one of the migrants accused in a Coney Island rape. And tonight, that attack is sparking new conversations about New York as a sanctuary city, including the NYPD's chief of patrol calling for a change to the law. Allie Bauman is here now. And Allie, you spoke exclusively with Chief John Schell tonight.
That's right, Christine. And now immigration advocates say New York's sanctuary city laws protect migrants and also encourages them to cooperate with police if they are a victim or witness of a crime. But some, including the NYPD's chief of patrol, argue the current laws are allowing some dangerous criminals to avoid deportation. The NYPD has 2 suspects in custody for the rape of a 46-year-old woman in Coney Island Sunday. Police say both suspects are migrants, and one was recently released from jail in June after he was arrested for raping someone in a city shelter last year.
When that case was adjudicated, his next step should have been in a bus or a plane and removed from our city.
NYPD Chief of Patrol John Schell says New York's sanctuary city laws should be amended to allow the NYPD to collaborate with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, when a migrant is convicted of a violent crime.
Most of them are here for the American dream, but there's a small portion that are not. We don't care what your status is. You commit a violent crime, there's got to be consequences for it. And we're just looking for local government to maybe make that adjustment to those laws. To really, at the end of the day, this all falls under the banner of keeping people safe.
Tuesday, Mayor Eric Adams called the Coney Island case despicable and expressed frustration over the current laws.
Laws do not allow us to coordinate with ICE. That's the law. And, I'm not happy about that, and I think he's the poster child of what's wrong with not doing that coordination.
ICE Field Office Director Kenneth Gianalo spoke to our Jennifer Bizram last month.
If we're not cooperating and the sanctuary policies do not allow NYPD to cooperate with my staff, so then how are we able to keep the community safe?
Criminal defense attorney Robert Osuna explains while police and ICE can work together in some cases, New York's laws limit that interaction dramatically.
They're not supposed to notify ICE unless there's a judicial warrant on the individual. That person wouldn't have a judicial warrant through immigration because immigration wouldn't have become aware of that offense.
And next week, Mayor Adams says he plans to talk to party leaders at the Democratic National Convention about issues that include immigration, public safety, and affordability. And Christine, we reached out to Legal Aid, Immigration Coalition of New York, the New York Civil Liberties Union, and they all declined to comment on this tonight.
All right, we'll be following up on that one. Thank you, Allie.
Now, in the aftermath of a series of really disturbing sex crimes such as rapes and sexual assaults, the NYPD's chief of patrols is demanding that the city council amend its sanctuary city laws to enable them to work with immigration's customs and enforcement to deport individuals who participate in heinous felonies such as rapes, sexual assaults, and other heinous sex crimes and other heinous crimes, so that these individuals can be taken out of the country before they can do harm to someone else. Now, under the current laws that were established by former Mayor Bill de Blasio and Andrew Cuomo, these sanctuary city laws make it where the NYPD and other law enforcement departments cannot get involved with immigration's customs and enforcement to deal with an individual who commits a crime if they enter the country illegally. And what has happened over the last 2 years under the Eric Adams administration after he basically got into a issue with Texas Governor Greg Abbott was Texas Governor Greg Abbott began busing individuals who entered the country illegally to New York City. And as Eric Adams has basically invited these individuals to come to New York City, many of these individuals who have not been vetted by Immigration's Customs and Enforcement have been coming to New York City. And as part of this migrant crisis that has been escalating over the last 2 years, many of these individuals are now participating in sex crimes like rapes and sexual assaults. And what the city's NYPD is stuck with is a situation where they cannot go out here and have these individuals turned over to the custody of Immigration's Customs and Enforcement to be deported due to this sanctuary city law that was passed by the New York City Council and Bill de Blasio and enforced as related to New York City law. Now, the NYPD Chief of Patrols asking for the City Council to amend this law is really serious because it shows how completely out of control the migrant crisis is becoming as related to these individuals coming into New York City and participating in these sex crimes. And it should basically trouble most New Yorkers, because if you have individuals who are participating in sex crimes, like the recently reported rape of a 13-year-old girl a couple of weeks ago in Queens, and a recent rape of a woman in Brooklyn around Coney Island, and another sexual crime that took place here in another part of New York, this should trouble people because these are the kinds of predators who really should not be on the streets of any country or any city. And due to this sanctuary city law, these individuals are continued to allow to be roaming the streets, and that causes a clear and present danger for most New Yorkers because of these individuals. Again, these are sexual deviants as related to their alleged actions. And from my years of research, when you have individuals like this out here, their crimes don't just start with the sex crime that they were caught in. No, once these individuals are released, they escalate their behavior. And as they escalate their behavior, again, they are a clear and present danger because they go from participating in a spectrum of violent behaviors, from starting out with sexual assaults and rapes to escalating their behavior to serial violence against women, and have the potential to possibly wind up becoming serial killers. So these are very dangerous individuals to have on the streets of New York. These are extremely dangerous individuals to be allowed to remain in the city. And in the case of one individual, or two individuals, I believe, they have basically wound up back out in jail after being arrested previously, and that should trouble people as related to the way the system is basically processing these individuals, because these individuals basically, again, they're committing heinous felonies, and they need to be put into the custody of Immigration's Customs and Enforcement and deported from America before they can go out here and escalate their crimes to possible serial murder. And this is something that, again, the City Council needs to get out of its whole issues of identity politics and really take seriously. Now, when it comes to these individuals, you have the mayor, Eric Adams, saying that his hands are tied and the City Council's hands are tied as related to the law. And I'm going to call bullshit on that, because the law isn't tying Eric Adams' hands. No, it's not tying Eric Adams or the City Council's hands as related to this sanctuary city law. No, they don't want to go out here and deal with this whole issue because they don't want to admit that the sanctuary city law that previous Democrats passed basically is a failed policy, because to admit that it's a failed policy would mean that they would possibly wind up losing an election, and that's the main reason why they don't want to do anything about these sanctuary city laws, even though these sanctuary city laws are putting people's lives in jeopardy to the point where the NYPD's chief of patrols is demanding that this law be amended. But I say we need to go even further than amending this law. No, this law in and of itself shouldn't even be on the books, because this law in and of itself is unconstitutional. And because this law is unconstitutional, this law needs to be thrown off the books. But these blue party politicians don't have the courage to do that. No, they don't have the courage to do that, because to go out here and make a petition against this whole law would mean going against their political party. And what's really scary here is that they're putting politics over people's safety. Here you have individuals who have, one, entered the country illegally and been enabled to violate our boundaries of our country by our own politicians, and two, we have them looking to support these laws that basically enable these individuals to enter our country illegally, and then they're sitting there saying that their hands are tied, putting people's safety at risk, which basically violates their own oath to us as related to public trust. And again, doing this because they value being in their positions as related to politics, putting it above public safety. And again, what's really troubling here is the solution is staring everyone in the face, but no one has the courage to go out here and implement the solution, because they don't want to say that their party basically was the one who was wrong. And that's a sad state of affairs as related to American pride, because I would put safety over pride in any situation, but these politicians want to say that their hands are tied when their hands are not tied at all. All this law basically needs is a constitutional challenge, and any judge would say it's unconstitutional, because you cannot go out here and violate the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution. No, the U.S. Constitution clearly states that federal agencies have jurisdiction over state and local agencies. So that means that Immigration's Customs and Enforcement have jurisdiction over the NYPD, and the NYPD has to work with them as related to individuals who enter the country illegally, because those individuals are under the jurisdiction of Immigration's Customs and Enforcement. They are under the jurisdiction of ICE, but because these blue politicians want to go out here and promote identity politics as related to diversity and inclusion, they believe that the work of Immigration's Customs and Enforcement is racist. And because they believe that the work of Immigration's Customs and Enforcement is racist, they want to go out here and say that this is why they don't want to work with them as related to deporting individuals who enter the country illegally under a really flawed law, a flawed law that basically is opening the door for some of the most dangerous individuals to be able to roam free here in New York City. Because when it comes to these individuals who participate in sex crimes, these are some of the most dangerous individuals to be allowed to roam free in society. Again, these are individuals who basically are going to escalate their behavior from, again, sexual assaults to participating in rapes to participating in serial killing. And this should trouble most of the women here in New York City, that you have politicians basically trying to cover their asses instead of looking out to protect the safety of people. And that's why you have the chief of patrols coming out and asking the city council, which I think is not strong enough. You have to demand that they, again, go and challenge the constitutionality of this law, not ask the city council to repeal this law. You have to demand that they basically state that this law is unconstitutional, which will wipe out all of these sanctuary city laws all across the country. Wipe out these sanctuary city laws all across the country. Unfortunately, we have weak leadership in Eric Adams, the cream of wheat man who's a coward. We have weak leadership in the city council who puts identity politics over public safety. We have weak leadership in Kathy Hochul, who basically is an empty symbolic pantsuit, who basically is there just because she's a woman. And that should trouble people, because this woman isn't looking to stand up for women's rights, because here we have people who entered the country illegally participating in sex crimes? And do we have to wait for them to become the serial killers? Because, again, these are individuals who don't see women as people. They see women as objects and see their bodies as weapons to break down women because these men want to have power. I mean, this is a very troubling situation, and it's really troubling that you have a member of the NYPD, again, member of the brass, speaking out about this situation, and instead of politicians taking action to correct this situation, they're allowing sexual predators to roam free, because in the case of two of these individuals, they basically were arrested and rearrested again, and that should trouble every woman out here, that you have a rapist or a sexual predator who is allowed to roam free due to dysfunctional policies like bail reform. I mean, this is an individual who's committed a sex crime. Again, this is one of the most dangerous crimes, and these are some of the most dangerous individuals from my years of research. Again, these guys, again, they're guaranteed to have a recidivism rate. They're guaranteed to go out here and repeat their crimes, guaranteed to put another woman's life in jeopardy and basically destroy a woman's life. That's where things are as related to New York City. And again, instead of politicians taking action, they sit there and make excuses. Oh, we can't do anything about these sanctuary city laws that are proven to be a failure bigger than prohibition, a failure bigger than these jab mandates that basically sabotage New York City's economy. And these boneheaded politicians, again, sitting with their heads up their asses, saying, oh, I can't do anything. You can't do anything, and you're going to leave women's safety in jeopardy. And this is, then again, nobody's taking this seriously or seeing the clear and present danger here. I mean, I see the clear and present danger here because I have a mother and a sister, and I have other women in my family who live in this city. And it really troubles me that this cream of wheat coward basically is sitting there not demanding the city council get rid of this policy. I mean, take your lawyers and challenge this in a court as related to the Constitution, because it's unconstitutional and just unethical to basically keep a law on the books that keeps women's safety at risk. I mean, this law, again, is a failure. I mean, it was meant to, again, help people who, again, that they thought came to the country illegally and wanted to keep a job. But when you have people basically taking that law and circumventing it to exploit people, then we're going to have to get rid of this law, because like prohibition, it's a failure of a law when you have criminals using the law to go out here and be able to empower themselves. I mean, that's what happened in prohibition. You had organized crime take the prohibition laws to enrich themselves. And in the case of these sexual deviants, what they're using is the sanctuary city law to benefit themselves, using the sanctuary city law to basically turn New York City into a place where they can prey on women. And that should trouble every member of the city council, that you're allowing these sexual deviants, these sexual predators, to roam the streets of New York. It should really trouble people. But in this whole state of our union, again, in this pathetic states of America, nobody has the courage to call this out. Nobody has the courage to say, hey, this policy doesn't work. This law doesn't work. We need to take accountability. Even if our party loses, we need to take accountability. And that's what's really sad about this situation. People put party over people, and that's not good government, because government is supposed to serve the citizens who vote there. Government is supposed to serve the taxpayers, but it's clear from this case the government is basically looking to serve itself. And again, as it's looking to serve itself, it's basically not serving the public trust or public safety. That's what's really sad here about this whole pathetic situation. It's pathetic that these individuals sit there and make excuses because they want to get another term in office. And that's why I say that these individuals need to be terminated. Because if you're not going to look out for the people, then you're not fit for the job. If you're not looking to go out here and look out for public safety as related to these people who, again, violated the boundaries of our border and now look to violate the bodies of our women and violate their ability to have their agency over themselves, then we really need to, again, get some new politicians and some new government that serves the people, because it's clear that the politicians here in New York are not serving we the people. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find them all in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And if you want to continue to support the channel, you can drop a donation to the PayPal or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati. The man who rules the world takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.